what we call cytotoxic or killer T cells. I tend to use the term cytotoxic T cell so that I don't confuse killer T cell with natural killer cell, because they sound similar. But one's a T lymphocyte, the other is a different lymphocyte, the natural killer cell lymphocyte. Next question. What are the goals, benefits of inflammation? List the cardinal signs of inflammation. How does histamine, along with prostaglandins and leukotrienes, cause inflammation and the resulting cardinal signs? So here, prostaglandins, leukotrienes, they're acting more as paracrine factors than anything else. They're secreted largely within the tissue where the damage has occurred. So when you cut the skin and histamine is released, it's coming from basophils and mast cells that are in the area. So these chemicals are acting as paracrine factors. So here they're listing some chemicals that induce inflammation: histamine, kinins, prostaglandins, complement proteins, cytokines. Cytokines is just a huge family of chemicals that are primarily used by immune cells to communicate with other immune cells. That's mostly what cytokines do. So we're going to skip antimicrobial proteins and move on to inflammation. All right, so this is question 5. Goals, benefits of inflammation, cardinal signs of inflammation. How does histamine cause inflammation and the resulting cardinal signs? What are the cardinal signs? Swelling, redness, pain, heat. And there's a reason for each of those things. Inflammation is good. We take anti-inflammatories because inflammation is painful, right? But maybe we should let it take its course in some cases, because there are certainly benefits to it. Same thing with fever. Although with fever, we just have to be careful that it's not excessive. That can damage the brain, right? It can literally kill you. But otherwise, maybe we let the fever take its course for a day or two. And we might actually overcome the illness faster that way. So, histamine comes from mast cells and basophils. What it's doing, along with all these other chemical mediators, it's promoting increased blood flow by dilating blood vessels, feeding that damaged tissue. But then also making the capillaries in that damaged tissue more permeable. And we covered this back in, chapter 4 or 5 last semester, when we looked at repair to a cut in the skin. And we saw how inflammation plays a role in the repair process. The best way to sum it up, inflammation is a way to clean the damaged tissue, remove the cellular debris, remove any microbes, pathogens that may be present, so that regeneration can begin. It's kind of like if you're going to remodel your kitchen, what do you need to do first before you can start building the new cabinets and putting in the new counters and new flooring? You got to demolish and get rid of all the old stuff that you're replacing. That's what inflammation in part is doing, helping us isolate microbes, eliminate them, and eliminate the damaged tissue, the cellular debris. So goals of inflammation: isolate, clean, repair damaged tissue. We can always assume if the mucous membrane has been damaged or the cutaneous membrane has been damaged, there are almost certainly microbes on the surface that have now gotten into that tissue. So we want to wall off the damaged tissue from the surrounding healthy tissue to prevent the spread of infection. Mobilize defenses to destroy and eliminate the pathogens. So part of inflammation is mobilizing the defense cells, calling over extra white blood cells to come help in the process. And what's that called when cells in the damaged tissue secrete chemicals that call over other nearby white blood cells to come in and help? Positive chemotaxis. And then 3, facilitate regeneration of the damaged tissue. Some of the chemicals that are secreted are growth factors and are therefore promoting regeneration. Cardinal signs: swelling, redness, heat, pain. All of them can be traced back to the 2 main effects of histamine and the chemical mediators like histamine. Making capillaries more permeable and dilating the arterioles so that more blood flows into these capillaries that are now more permeable. The increased blood flow into this tissue results in redness. The increased blood flow, combined with the fact that more fluid is crossing the capillary wall because it's more permeable now, and so you're making more filtrate, that causes edema or swelling. Now, some of those chemicals, like histamine, sensitize pain receptors or nociceptors. So now just the swelling alone, just that small amount of fluid pressure from the swollen tissue is irritating nociceptors, is causing pain. And normally it wouldn't, right? And then if you touch that tissue, just barely touch it, it can be what we say, very tender. So touch should not stimulate nociceptors, but they've been sensitized by all these chemicals. And the best example is a sunburn. Right? Normally it doesn't hurt to put on a shirt. It doesn't hurt if someone comes and rubs your back, pats you on the back. But if you have a sunburn, it's torture if they do that, right? It can even hurt just to take your shirt off or put a shirt on. That's sensitized pain fibers, nociceptors. So now touch hurts when it normally doesn't. What's always the purpose of pain? Awareness of a problem. It's your body's way of letting you know something is wrong. There's damage somewhere. Swelling is sort of visual confirmation, and the redness, visual confirmation that something is wrong. Right? You feel the pain, you look at it, it's swollen, it's red, okay. You definitely know something's going on. So you're going to tend to it, right? You're going to take care of it. If it's an ankle, maybe you'll immobilize it so that it can heal properly. Heat. Well, where blood goes, heat goes. So the increased blood flow, it causes the swelling and the redness and the heat. But what's the benefit of the heat? You increase metabolic rate. Which cells do we want working at a faster pace? The immune cells, the phagocytes, right? So they can eliminate the pathogens faster, clear out the cellular debris faster. We want the stem cells and their descendants doing what they do at a faster rate so that regeneration is a little bit quicker. And not only that, a slight increase in temperature is often enough to denature microbial proteins while leaving human proteins alone. Microbial proteins are often much more sensitive to an increase in temperature. They can denature much more easily. Now let's say the infection is systemic. It's not localized to a cut on the skin, but there are microbes in your body fluids, lymph and blood. What can we do to raise the temperature everywhere in the body to hopefully destroy some of these bacterial proteins? Fever. Right? So the heat, the warmth that is localized when we have inflammation, say in the skin or mucous membrane, is doing the same thing that fever is doing. But fever is on a global scale, right? Affecting the entire body. And that's why it might be a good idea to let the fever take place and not try to bring the temp back down. You just don't want it to get so high that it's now affecting human proteins. That's the lethal part. Going back to the increased blood flow and permeability. Yes, it's responsible for those cardinal signs, but why is it actually happening? With increased blood flow, we can bring more nutrients into that tissue to feed all the immune cells that are now working at an even faster rate, right, because of the increased temperature. So metabolic rate is up. We need to get those cells more nutrients, right, faster delivery. So we increase blood flow. By making the capillary walls more permeable, it's easier for nutrients to be delivered, but it's also allowing for clotting proteins to cross the capillary wall, get into that damaged tissue. The idea is to wall off the healthy surrounding tissue from the damaged tissue. Right, so we want to find pathogens when they get into the body, isolate them to prevent the spread, and then eliminate them. So the internal clotting is to isolate and prevent spreading. So that's what they're describing here, interstitial clots, temporary fibrin patch. And it also forms a scaffold for repair. We saw that in skin repair. Before granulation tissue forms, we have the blood clot. It's sort of the original scaffolding. It's something that capillaries can grow into, something that stem cells can migrate onto to start reforming the epidermis. These chemicals, like histamine, that increase blood flow and capillary permeability, can also act as agents of positive chemotaxis. So they can call over white blood cells. Leukocytosis is increased number of leukocytes. So some of these chemicals, like leukocyte-inducing factor, increase the number of white blood cells. Plus, they know where to go. They're following the chemical signal. They migrate to the area. When they get there, they line up along the inside of the capillary wall, and then they start moving through the capillary wall. It's called diapedesis, to walk across the wall, diapedesis. So now they've left the capillary, they're in the tissue itself, where they do what they do, phagocytosis. Does this map make sense? This is similar to what we looked at in 430. Here the skin has been compromised. So you can see margination, diapedesis, coming in here, eliminating the threat. Question 6, what are pyrogens? What are the benefits of a moderate fever? So that's the very next item on the study guide. And big picture, what we're looking at is the second line of defense. So we started with cells, and we talked about the cells, the phagocytic cells, the non-phagocytic cells. After that, antimicrobial proteins, interferons and complement, which we didn't talk about yet. We skipped that, but then after that was inflammation, and then fever. So cells, proteins, processes. That's the second line of defense. Pyrogens are chemicals that target the hypothalamus and increase the set point for thermoregulation. Right, so when your body temp goes up during fever, that's because this is the new set point. So if you were cold, and that's what, I don't want to give it away. If you were cold, what changes would occur to bring your body temp back up to set point? You're cold to start with, then what happens?
Sugar.
So skeletal muscle activity is enhanced, muscle tone increases, right? Muscles generate more heat. If you can feel or even see the muscles contracting, we call that shivering. What else? We constrict peripheral vessels, try to keep the blood in the core of the body so we don't lose heat to the external environment. Inhibit sweat glands, right? So what happens during fever? Even if you're not truly cold, you're in a warm room, you're wearing warm clothes, but what might you still do?
Shiver.
Start shivering. You might wonder, why in the heck am I shivering? Why do I feel so cold? And because you feel cold, behavioral responses take place as well. You seek out warmer clothes. You seek out a blanket, right? You bundle up. So it's as if you're cold and you're trying to warm yourself up back to set point. That's exactly what's happening. Except you're not really cold. It's just that your set point has been raised a few degrees, and now that's what your hypothalamus is trying to maintain. And the sweats that occur we call cold sweats, because you still feel cold even though you're sweating. What chemicals act as pyrogens? Yeah, so interleukins, cytokines, again, these are families of chemicals that are often used by immune cells to communicate with other immune cells. Well, in this case, they're secreted from immune cells, but they're actually targeting the hypothalamus, and they're increasing the set point. Interleukin-1 is a good example, IL-1. And then who secretes the pyrogens? Which immune cells are secreting pyrogens like interleukin-1? Activated macrophages. What does it mean to be an activated macrophage? What do you think? A macrophage that has interacted with a pathogen. Right? The only macrophages that would know that there's an infection are macrophages that have interacted with the pathogens. So when that happens, they're considered now activated macrophages, and they can start secreting chemicals to let other immune cells know, hey, I found something that doesn't belong, help me eliminate it, as well as chemicals that target the hypothalamus that induce fever.
May I ask you a question regarding sweat? So why are we getting cold sweats even though our body set point is higher? So
I'll have to check on that, but it's because you're truly warm, and although other things are happening to try to reach that higher set point, the sweating still occurs.
So you're still cooling yourself down?
Kind of, yeah. But typically, you're in a warm environment, you're bundled up, so it's really not going to work. But I'll have to figure out why exactly that is still happening. That's a good question. We talked about the benefits of a moderate fever. Speeding up the metabolic rate of good cells, perhaps damaging the proteins of bad cells. And when you increase metabolic rate, that increases everything, including regeneration or healing. Differentiate between humoral and cell-mediated immunity. Well, that takes us into the third line of defense, the specific defense, and that's a big discussion. So we'll pick that up on Thursday.